right, welcome everybody to another Commanders Film Room. I'm one of your hosts, George Carmi, and I'm joined here with Mark Bullock. We're breaking down the Week 9 win of the 27-22 victory over the New York Giants. Mark, every week there's some new news coming up here in DC, and it's been a lot different than what we're used to. We're getting win after win every single week. We had a pretty big trade today. The Marshawn Lattimore trade. Let me kind of go over the details here. So for one, looking over here, give me one moment, please. So big trade today. Basically, Washington has been at a deficit at cornerback all year long. And what ended up happening was Washington got Marshawn Lattimore and the Saints 2025 fifth-round pick, and the Saints get the 2025 third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a sixth-round pick that they gave away for the John Ridgeway deal. It just happened about 2 hours ago. But, Mark, what are your initial thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Not that Lattimore's not a good player. I thought Adam Peters would be very, very picky about giving away day 2 picks. And so I've kind of made the point on Twitter that I thought he would hold on to those. And for the people that are like, oh, it's only a third rounder, we can give them a third rounder. Their last third round pick, or the only Adam Peters third round pick on the roster, is currently their starting left tackle. So that is not a throwaway pick for a guy like Adam Peters. That's a significant investment. And it wasn't just the third round pick; it was the fourth round pick and the pick swaps. So it was a good investment. And it tells you that they believe he can be a guy that can be there for a few years, not just a rental, because they're willing to go that far to make that move. They obviously need help in the secondary. It was something that was glaring. It was preventing the defense from doing what they want to do, the style of play they want to play with, and play the coverage they want to play. And it was really holding them back. And it's a move that could have a knock-on effect to improve the entire unit. So I understand why they made it. I was just a little bit surprised that Peters was willing to go that far, but they obviously think it's a move that can benefit them for both the short and the long term.
Absolutely. I think it's very interesting because, for one, I believe in Adam Peters 100%. I feel like he cut his teeth in the draft scouting world, very articulate, very smart. He doesn't invest, unconsciously. He has a downfield vision with his plan. It's interesting, though, because I do feel like he did invest somewhat of a draft choices towards him. There are some significant trade going to him, but I like the fact that Marshawn Lattimore is a 28-year-old, 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback, highly talented, strong at man coverage, and I also like the impact that's going to have on our defense altogether. He's going to slide in right into CB1. I'm assuming. I don't know how fast the turnaround is going to be. Benjamin St-Juste has been up and down all year long. I think he's actually been better than what people actually think, in my opinion, per se. And I think he might slide into CB2, and Mikey Sanders still sliding into that slot position, which I think will be pretty strong altogether. So it's going to be interesting. I guess altogether, how would you grade it, Mark? Is it an A, B, C, D, or to be determined so far?
I think you do have to kind of go with a bit of a to be determined. I think in theory it's a very good trade because it should improve the defense and allow them to do the things they want to do, which, as you mentioned, kind of play more man coverage and then be able to drop a safety down in the box rather than constantly having to play too high. That will help with the run game as well. That will allow them to blitz a lot more and generate more pressure and create more sacks. So that is what they want to do, and they've not been able to do. They've kind of been playing with one hand held behind their back a little bit, and so this trade should help them in that regard. But it's always tough for a guy to come across midseason, learn a new scheme. I mean, coverages, it's a little bit easier because man coverage is man coverage everywhere you go, and cover 2 is cover 2 wherever you go. But there'll be the different terminology and learning how different teams pass things off and stuff. So it will take some adjustment. And it's always harder to adjust during the middle of the season. But Lattimore certainly has the quality to do that.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mark. For one, guys, thank you for Mark's always on here every single week. If you haven't subscribed to the show or given us a like or comment, please do so on YouTube. It's the Big Doug and Carmi Show. Mark's hustling every week, always breaking down the film, breaking down the all 22. Great insight. And he actually hustled to get you guys some Marshawn Lattimore film today. So thank you for that, Mark. I really appreciate it. Let's start off though. Let's start off with this week. Obviously, we're looking at the Giants win, guys. 7-2. I don't think anyone's really anticipated this. A lot of us weren't even born yet, or very, very young when Washington was 7-2. I was 13 years old going to school dances in 7th grade at that point, so it's been a long time coming. The Commanders win 27-22. Jaden Daniels has another strong game, 209 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Rodriguez actually surprisingly led the rushing game with 52 yards. Jeremy Chin had 7 tackles, Dante Fowler 2 sacks, and best of all, no sacks surrendered for the Washington Commanders. Mark, I'm going to throw the mic over to you. I know you have some Jaden Daniels film for us to watch, some Brendan Coleman film to watch, a little sprinkle of Marshawn Lattimore at the end. So I'm really excited about that. So I'll throw it over to you.
Yep. So I thought we'd start off with Jaden Daniels, because why would you start with anything else? And the big thing for me with Jaden Daniels in this game was he was super efficient. Efficient was the word that I used in my article of him on Monday. He was just so good at taking what the defense gave him. And when I was watching the game back, I was thinking. I was thinking of Alex Smith quote. When Alex Smith was here and Washington last went 6-3 before he got injured, he constantly talked about aggressively taking what the defense gives him, and that kind of everyone kind of labeled Alex Smith as this check down guy, and you could see that at times he was quick to check the ball down, but he was playing by that mantra of aggressively taking what the defense gives him, and sometimes that would be they give him a deep shot, he'd take the deep shot. But if they were playing deep, taking away the deep stuff and protecting over the top, that was giving them something underneath, and you could move the ball, move the chains, and pick up some solid gains. And I thought this first play that I've got here is a great example of aggressively taking what the defense is giving him. So this is 3rd and 18, so very unlikely to convert. At this point in the game, you're probably thinking, we want to just try to get as close to the 30, 35 yard line and kick a field goal if we can. Pick up a short gain, take the field goal, move on to the next drive. You're not really thinking we're going to get a first down here. The Giants, obviously, as a defense, they're going to be sinking back into coverage and protecting that first down marker and giving up anything underneath to rally to the ball. So we'll see as we snap this ball through. Jaden Daniels is going to get to the top of his drop, and he could be looking at the deep curl out here. He could look at the deep curl out here. You could potentially think about throwing this crosser to Zach Ertz, but we've talked a lot about no yak Zach, as Nick likes to talk about. Yes, this is open. It's probably getting tackled. What Jaden Daniels does really well here is he identifies that he's got Dyami Brown who chipped on the edge before releasing to the flat. He's got Dyami Brown working to the flat here late, and the safety is the man trying to cover him. Now that safety is 15 yards off of him, whereas this defender is, yes, Ertz is breaking away from him, but the defender is there in position to make a tackle. So the chance to gain more potential yards after the catch and let Dyami Brown go make a play is here because the safety is 15 yards off of him. So aggressively taking what the defense gives him, rather than waiting for these things to possibly appear and probably not appear down the field, he gets to the top of his drop, he sees that safety's off, and he's going to take Dyami Brown underneath. And he quickly does that. And that means that Dyami Brown's able to secure the pass, turn and look upfield before the safety's even within 5 yards of him. Now that is a great opportunity for any wide receiver to make a move and break a tackle. And that is exactly what Dyami Brown does. Now, when he does this, again, we're talking about get to the 30, 35, kick a field goal, and move on to the next drive. He's not expecting Dyami Brown to go and turn this into a huge game. Dyami Brown goes and makes a great play himself. He breaks a tackle. We'll see the end zone angle, cuts back inside, picks up a first down. It's a huge game. But the point is, he's aggressively taking what the defense gives him. And again, he could throw this ball over the middle, but he sees that safety is dropping back and gaining depth, and he's got Dyami Brown in the flat. So he quickly pulls the trigger, gets Dyami Brown the chance to turn, locate the defender, and then go and stiff arm him with a nasty stiff arm, break through that tackle, get up the sideline, feel the defender coming in, cut back inside, go pick up the first down, lose his helmet in the process, but is a great play, and it's a great play by De'Ami Brown. Again, you're not anticipating him going and turning that into a 24-yard game, but you are giving him an opportunity to go make a play and pick you up enough yards to get into field goal range, which is the correct decision on that type of play. So again, aggressively taking what the defense gives him. And this next play is another example of that. This is a 3rd down and 8. You've got an empty set, and you've got a couple of deep routes over here. This is a variation of a dagger concept where you got a receiver breaking inside, and instead of this guy working just vertically, he's going to break outside over the top of that to try to attack if a corner gets a little bit nosy on the dagger route. You got McLaurin running this little double move, faking a slant inside and breaking over back deep. And then you got your 2 guys on the edge here, chipping and running shallow crosses. So again, we think about 3rd and 8, they're protecting the chains, they're protecting against anything deep. Daniels gets to the top of his drop, and what does he see? He sees we've got man coverage across the board with a safety deep in the middle, and we've got this one safety trying to cover Austin Eckler, who chipped and is now releasing into a shallow cross. So again, we've got 15 yards of separation from where the safety is to where Austin Eckler is. And of course, Eckler is working across the field, so he's running away from that safety as well. So instead of waiting for one of these deeper routes to develop to potentially pick up a 1st down, he takes what the defense gives him. And we'll see from the end zone angle a little bit better here, but he'll buy himself some time. He'll feel that pressure in the pocket. He'll drift back, buy himself some time. And he finds Austin Eckler. And again, Eckler makes the catch and is able to turn up the field, position himself before the safety here is within 5 yards of him, which is, again, great opportunity for him to go and turn this into a 1st down. Now, a younger Austin Eckler or a more explosive receiver would probably just sprint this up the sideline and turn this into a huge game out of that way. Eckler doesn't quite have the burst that he once had, so he's got to cut this back inside, but he does a nice job after the catch, making a couple guys miss and turning this into I think it was a 28-yard game.
He was wide open on this play.
Yeah, so we'll see. That safety was actually part of a 2-deep coverage. It was 2-man, but they have a little bit of a bust, and he's chipping, and they're expecting him to stay in to protect. So he comes out free, which means that safety has to try to catch up. So Daniels notices the bust here, and he feels the pressure, and he knows that Eckler's crossing into the same window as the Zacchaeus. So this guy is potentially a threat to not intercept the pass because he's focused on Zacchaeus, but prevent Eckler from getting that ball. So he has to buy a little bit of time for Eckler to clear that window. But that pressure's coming, so he just drifts a little bit, waits for that window to clear, gets that ball out. Eckler makes a nice adjustment and a catch, and then again, after the catch, so much space out here. Defender is still 5 yards away from him. He's able to make a nice cut, make 2 defenders miss, and then eventually gets brought down for 28 yards. So,
and there's so many positive. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just a re-emphasizing aggressively taking what the defense gives him. Doesn't always mean attacking down the field every play. It means taking the right option and taking it efficiently, and giving guys chances to go make plays after the catch.
And all I was going to say is there's so many positives to take away from that play, right? Just the evolution of our team and where we are from last year to this year. With the Giants last year, they really struggled to make adjustments in real time, and they were constantly blitzing us and constantly creating pressure for our quarterback, for Sam Howell. We saw that chip for Austin Eckler, giving Jaden Daniels a little bit more time. That's one positive takeaway from. Then Jaden Daniels is poised. I think that's a theme of the season all year long. He's just been so poised. He has such great conceptual understanding of what the team's trying to do. The fact that he was buying time, Brian Bird is coming down his throat right there. He fades back a little bit, throws a little dump off pass. Austin Eckler creates after the catch. And just like you're saying, he's taking what the defense is giving him, but the fact that he knows that already 9 games into his year is pretty positive, very positive.
Yeah, and to build on that point of aggressively taking what the defense gives him, it doesn't mean just check the ball down constantly as soon as he can. It means take what's being given to him. So this was the second touchdown to Terry McLaurin. Now, there's 11 seconds on the clock, no timeouts left. There is absolutely zero reason why Deonte Banks shouldn't be doing anything but bailing out to the deep corner of the end zone and staying on top of Terry McLaurin. McLaurin runs a little bit of double move. He kind of stutters inside and bursts outside, and Banks shouldn't be worried at all about any break inside because he's got safety help and they know they can make the tackle and the time will expire. So he shouldn't be worried about that at all. He should just be staying deep. But you never know whether there's a guy that's going to bust, and they know that Banks is a little bit of a nosy corner, especially against a guy like McLaurin that he faces twice a year, and they have some battles. So aggressively taking what the defense gives him, rather than just assuming that, okay, this is going to be dead because of the situation, and then he's going to drop back and not take this. He still checks it, and he sees Banks start to come inside with the fake inside, and McLaurin fades outside, and you can already see Jaden Daniels has gone, yeah, he's taken that step, I'm throwing this ball. That ball's coming out at this point. He's already in his delivery stride, and he delivers a great ball, and it's a fantastic catch from McLaurin. So aggressively taking what the defense gives him, it's a mindset of still being aggressive, still taking the shots when defense does make a mistake, and it's understanding when they could and identifying that, but not just waiting for things to happen down the field, and being efficient with the ball. So that's what we see there.
And real quick on that, Mark, another positive from that play as well, the developing chemistry between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. From my understanding, that was supposed to be a straight fly route, or a straight up vert route right there. But what ended up happening was Terry McLaurin decided to stem inside. He kind of, he was trying to play with Banks a little bit to stem inside, kind of give more room on the sidelines for Jaden Daniels to throw it. And the fact that Jaden Daniels was sitting there watching the play, saw that all developments, give McLaurin a chance was great. So it's awesome that McLaurin had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns in the game, which is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good to see the chemistry building between those two. It's so refreshing for McLaurin, particularly given what he's had to deal with here.
Absolutely.
But the overall point of Daniels being really efficient in this game doesn't just apply to him as a passer. It applied to him as a runner. He only had, I think, 35 or 38 rushing yards or something like that. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't scrambling a ton and running a ton, but when he needed to, he did. And this is one of those examples. So the Giants kind of catch them a little bit by surprise. They have a slot blitz coming off the edge here. Washington's running a little play action pass, and technically the running back is responsible for that slot defender. But because he's executing a play fake, he's running inside and is late to get out here. So as we run this through, we'll see that exactly play out. So they're pulling a guard, they're faking a run to this side. And the running back is actually responsible for trying to block this guy here. But because he's executing the fake, he's late to get out there. He's got to fake that handoff and then get back out. And you can see he suddenly realizes, oh, crap, I got to get back out. And Daniels shows fantastic poise. Like, he sees this coming. Obviously, I mean, the guy's right in his face, and he's coming from the right side, so he can see him. You can see Daniels shortens his drop, puts his foot in the ground, feels that guy coming, calmly just steps up to avoid him, and then it's, I've got open field here, it's go time, I can take off running. And yeah, sure, he could throw this ball, but he could also get a block here, and potentially pick up a huge gain. So now he does kind of have a little bit of a janky fall getting down there. But you see it from this angle, it's such a good play from Jaden Daniels. Like, that guy comes in off the edge, he shortens up his drop, puts his foot in the ground, doesn't panic. There's no, oh God, what am I doing? I'm going to get hit. It's just calmly step up, avoid, and it's go into playmaker mode. And then suddenly that running back that should have been blocking can become a lead blocker for him. He can peel off, get a linebacker inside. And that's when Jaden Daniels knows, okay, I don't need to throw this. I've got that block. I've got all this space. I can run myself. And I think he just wanted to run this out of bounds, but Noah Brown kind of loses the block at the end here. So he has this little weird fall. So he's still not natural slider, but we'll take it.
One thing that's funny for me, Mark, we've been doing this since August now. The evolution of my faith in Jaden Daniels, and I don't know if kind of distilled on you as well, but week 1, I think he ran the ball 16 times. There's a lot of contention and stress among the fan base. Oh, he might be running too much. I fully trust Jaden Daniels now, and I think he is truly a weapon. I feel like he's smart enough to get down on the ground, not get hurt. He's pretty good about avoiding contact altogether. I think it would be a disservice not to use him in the run game. Maybe not as much as they potentially do, but I feel like he does create off that running ability. I'm pretty confident in that.
I would be angry at any offensive coordinator that doesn't use his running ability, because it adds so much to the offense. Yeah, he has gotten better. He still can improve in terms of protecting himself. the best guy I've seen actually at protecting themselves is Kyler Murray, and you can kind of understand why when you look at Kyler Murray. He's what, 5'10" and maybe 180 pounds or something like that. So
he's small.
He's a small guy, so you understand that he wants to avoid contact. So he will fully pull up like 5 yards short of a defender just to make sure he doesn't get hurt, and that's kind of what you want. So Jaden Daniels isn't there, but he's improving. He's definitely doing better than what he did in college, where in college he would have tried to cut that up back inside that linebacker and take it to the house. Exactly. So that's an improvement. And then I think this was my last one on Jaden Daniels. This isn't so much about being efficient. This was just a really nice throw. So they've got one of their play action concepts here. They're working out of 21 personnel. So we've got Austin Eckler here lining up as a receiver, Jeremy McNichols in the backfield. I believe this is Terry McLaurin, and then we got Noah Brown, and we got Zach Ertz, who's going to chip and then release on a shallow. So McLaurin's just going to run a vertical route, and then you're going to have Noah Brown on this high cross. And we'll run this through. It's kind of a play action fake, but there's no actual real fake handoff. He's kind of faking throwing this little swing screen out here. So you don't get the depth. The linebackers biting up as much. They get a little bit more depth than what you would like on normal play action fake. And what that means is that this linebacker here, that the Giants are dropping into cover 3. So you can see outside corner going outside third, deep middle safety, other outside corner playing outside third. And then you got 4 underneath defenders going to the flat, this guy going to this flat, and then the 2 middle hook guys. Now this middle hook guy does what's called a robot technique, where he's turning, he's identifying where the crosser is, because that's where a lot of teams try to attack cover 3 off of play action is those crossing routes. And so he's trying to identify where that crosser is, and you can see he actually sees Noah Brown coming, and he turns and pivots and kind of turns his head back to the quarterback, so he can't see where Daniels is, but he knows this is where he wants to throw the ball, so I'm just going to run in underneath it and try to take it away. Now for a lot of quarterbacks that would be, okay, this route's dead, I'll take this check down to the flat or Austin Eckler underneath. Jaden Daniels is showing some remarkable maturity here. The defender is running to the route that he wants to throw, but because he's turned his head, the old mantra goes, if they're not looking at you, they can only cover the width of their shoulders. And so, he's got Noah Brown running over here. He can put the ball on Noah Brown or put the ball around this defender and give Noah Brown a chance to make a play. So he's not put off by the defender sinking underneath the route, even though this doesn't look particularly open, and it's not really open. The defender does a good job. That is exactly how you're meant to play this kind of concept. But Daniels is still winding up to deliver this throw. And it's a fantastic throw that he does deliver. We'll see from the end zone angle. So he sends Eckler in that fake motion. He comes across. You can see he gets to the top of his drop. You can see this defender is turning his eyes to Noah Brown, not looking at Jaden Daniels. He's trying to match the route and take it away, but Jaden Daniels can see that he's never looking back for the ball, so he's only covering the width of his shoulders. So he can put this ball wherever he wants to Noah Brown. He can try to put it out here. He can try to put it more on him, and what he tries to do is put it more on Noah Brown. And Noah Brown goes and makes a fantastic grab, a nice adjustment, but you can see it's outside the width of that guy's shoulder. And so there's no way of him being really able to catch that. And so it's a fantastic grab. I think I might have put the other angle. Yeah, I did put the other angle in just to really show it off.
This is an NFL throw right here, because he's truly not really open, right? The guy is playing sound coverage, but the fact is that he doesn't have his head turned around and Jaden's picking on him. And Jaden's been exceptionally accurate. Like, I feel like that's one thing I really like about Jaden Daniels is he places the ball very, very well when he throws it to his wide receivers, whether it's low, high, back shoulder, whatever it is. That's a great placed ball, because if he throws it to the left, potentially the other cornerback can knock it down or something. So great play.
Yep. Yeah, it's a fantastic play, and it was the throw of the game for me for Jaden Daniels. And Noah Brown, credit to him for holding on to that, because that linebacker does get his arm in there and try to rip the ball out, and Noah Brown shows great hands to hold on to that one.
Mark, quick question.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that guy dropping back in coverage, if that was a corner, do you think, I mean, it's a hypothetical question. If that was a corner dropping back, do you think Jaden Daniels potentially wouldn't throw that ball? Like, maybe because maybe a limitation on linebackers, not necessarily as agile to turn around. I'm sticking out loud. What do you think about that?
Potentially. I think he threw that not based on who the defender was, but how they were playing it. As I say, the mantra that a lot of quarterbacks are taught are defender with their head turned can only cover the width of their shoulders.
I like that.
You could see he threw that outside the width of that guy's shoulders. He kind of deliberately threw it back on Noah Brown's back shoulder to lead him away from that guy. So maybe a corner, he'd be more worried about being able to get back underneath Noah Brown and then turn back and look for the ball potentially. But I think largely just it was more based on the leverage of the defender rather than thinking that's a linebacker, I can just throw it at him and it'll be fine.
Got it.
So that was Jaden Daniels. Another one that everyone wanted to talk about this week was Brandon Coleman, obviously making his first full start for Washington. Now he's been rotating in and out for Cornelius Lucas. We all know this by now. And Lucas was out this week, so Coleman played the full game for the first time. And he had this guy here, Brian Burns, a very good NFL pass rusher, lined up across from him most of the game. And the stats, I think the stats were something like 29 passing plays, no pressures, no sacks, which is a phenomenal stat line, and it makes him out. I think it makes him out to be a little bit better than he was. So what I wanted to do was give some context. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't a good performance from Coleman, because it is, and I'll show why. But I want to give some context of how Washington helped him out. And they've been doing this all season, so this shouldn't be a surprise. And we talked about this a lot throughout this show this season, where they've been helping the tackles with chips. So we've got 3 examples here, and there were plenty more. But this is Noah Brown in the slot. He's got a chip Brian Burns. You've also got a little play action fake. So we got Ben Sinnott here that could be a potential threat to chip him, but is actually pulling. You've got Nick Allegretti who's going to pull to the right side. So you're going to have 2 guys pulling. That's quite a heavy run key that makes Brian Burns kind of think, okay, maybe this is a run because both guys are pulling. And then suddenly he's getting blocked by Noah Brown. Maybe that's even more of an indication that it's potentially a run. So there's a lot going on here to stop Brian Burns from just charging up the field and rushing against Coleman. So you'll see it here. Snap the ball, Allegretti pulls, Sinnott pulls, and you get the chip from Noah Brown. So that closes off the edge for Brian Burns. We got the run fake, and Coleman is then there to get his hands on him and stop him. And Brian Burns is kind of sat there going, okay, what exactly is going on here? I've got 2 guys pulling away from me. I've got a receiver trying to chip me. Suddenly I'm being blocked by a tackle. And he kind of has to take a second to adjust and disengage and kind of evaluate, okay, where's the ball? What am I doing? Is this a run? Is this a pass? What's happening? And by the time he starts to try and re-engage, you can see Jaden Daniels is already getting rid of the ball. So they were doing a lot of things like that to help out Brandon Coleman on Brian Burns. And this is another example. This time they've got Jeremy McNichols in the backfield, and he's going to chip on Brian Burns, and he's going to provide quite a strong chip. Again, they've got this backfield action. This is actually the catch to Noah Brown we just looked at a minute ago. So you got the backfield action with Austin Eckler coming into the backfield and then pivoting back out. So again, what exactly is happening? Where's the ball going? McNichols steps up and secures that edge. There's no way Brian Burns is going to be able to rush straight up the field and challenge Coleman for speed, because McNichols is there. And then he lays a firm body on him. He really goes and chips him. So that, again, secures that edge and stops him getting outside, and it allows Coleman to take control. And then Burns tries to adapt and get back outside, but there's just no way of doing it. And they have a good fight, and then we see that great throw from Daniels again. And then one more. This time, I think this is actually the touchdown to Terry McLaurin. This time you've got Luke McCaffrey in the slot, and he's going to chip. Almost as a tight end, but he's going to chip. And again, it's just finding different ways of giving Brian Burns more to think about, not just letting him go rush straight up the field against Coleman. And that is allowing the ball to come out quickly and Brandon Coleman to not be exposed too much to just pure drop back situations where he's having to work one-on-one. So that was some. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question for you. So obviously, I love that whole scheme. We've been talking about it all year. Luke McCaffrey, Ben Sinnott, Eckler been chipping all year long. Who would you give credit to? Like, who deserves credit for that potential scheming? Would that be the offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson? Would it be Cliff Kingsbury? A combination of the both, or is it kind of unclear? What are your thoughts on that?
You couldn't ever really say without being in the meeting rooms. So I just kind of give it to the offensive staff. Okay. Because they all have a hand in putting the game plan together. Different coaching staffs do things differently. Like some guys the offensive coordinator will run everything. Some guys will hand things off and be like, okay, you're my offensive line coach. I want you to make the run game plan and the protection plan. Yeah. And so you never really know unless you're in those meeting rooms. But I'm giving credit to them all because the protection plan has been very, very good. And it's really helped the tackle, whoever's been at tackle, whether it's Coleman or Lucas on this side, whether it's Wiley or even when Trent Scott's played, they've all had this help and it's really helped every one of them. So, but that was some context I wanted to provide for Coleman. That it wasn't like he was being asked to be Trent Williams and work one-on-one on an island the entire time. He was being given plenty of help. But there were still times where he, has to front up and try to block Brian Burns on his own. And so in those cases, we saw some improvement from him. In college, he was kind of a guy that liked to punch with two hands. And when you go with a two-handed punch, it can be really powerful if you land it and it will stun guys, but it can also lead you to kind of lunging forward and moving your weight over your feet and being a little bit off balance and being easy to kind of knock off balance. And when you go with both hands, if those hands get swatted down, then suddenly you don't have any hands free to save yourself. So what Coleman has had to do is learn how to use individual hand usage. So separate his outside hand from his inside hand when he's trying to place them. And one move he's really come to favor over the past few weeks has been what's known as a hand flash. And a hand flash, you'll see it here, is where he just kind of flashes his outside hand at the chest of the defender and then pulls it away. He's just baiting that hand. He's just kind of showing it to him, flashing it at him, and then pulling it away. And the idea is that you get the defender thinking, okay, he's trying to engage with me really quickly. I need to swat that hand down. And then by the time that hand comes up to swat his hand down, Coleman's able to pull his hand away, dodge the swat, and then that exposes the chest. And so that's exactly what we see here. So you can see his hand is up, ready to strike, and then he's just pulling it away. You see the swipe miss from Burns, and then you see Coleman is able to place his hand on Burns' chest and get that outside peck and cut off that rush to the edge. You can see there that's exactly where you want that hand to be. Cuts off that rush, and you are able to just negate that speed rush that Brian Burns is really good at, and Coleman does a nice job keeping his feet moving and staying engaged with him. And yeah, it's a very good rep. Now Daniels ends up scrambling and Burns peels off late, but Daniels does a good job of getting away. But it was just a good example of a hand flash, and this is another one. Again, working against Brian Burns out here. You see the quick hand flash. That was a very quick one. So let me wind that one back.
Mark, while you're rewinding, I just want to give you the utmost credit. Like, who would have thought we'd be talking about hand flashes and offensive lineman technique today? Good job. Very impressive. Nick Ack would be very proud of you today too.
So you can see here, this hand is stepping up. He just flashes it in the face of the defender. Again, trying to bait that club or that swat from the outside hand. Burns instead tries to swat it down with his inside hand, but again, there's nothing there. And Coleman's able to hook around and get his hand on the outside of the chest. Now, some people would say this is a holding. He's got his hand wrapped around his neck, but actually the defender, this is the kind of thing that Ryan Kerrigan really struggled with for years, is that he could never clear the hand of the tackle. And the tackles would often hook him exactly like this. They're not holding, they've just hooked him. And he can't really do anything from this position. And that was what we saw Ryan Kerrigan get caught with quite a few times. Mm-hmm. So that's a nice technique that Coleman has picked up. It can't be the only thing that he uses because defenders will start to catch on to it. But it's a good one to have in the arsenal, and it shows that he is learning new techniques and improving, which is really good to see. Now, what was this one here that I had here? Yeah, so this was one where he had a few rough reps that he got away with a little bit lucky here. You can see here, this is quite clearly a face mask. His hands are on Brian Burns' face. He kind of grabs and holds it for quite a while. It's still on his face here. And how this referee does not see that, I have no idea. But he didn't, and we got away with it. And then Daniels ended up having to throw it away. But it was just an example. We'll wind it back again here. That you see, he doesn't go with the hand flash here. He's just trying to make contact because Burns is coming off from quite a wide angle. He's trying to cut off that speed rush. Doesn't quite get his feet out and catching up with Burns quickly enough. So he's kind of reaching with that hand to cut him off. And his hand goes a little bit high and gets that face mask. And it really should have been a penalty. But he got away with it. And you know, you love those for offensive linemen when they're on your team. You hate them when they're against you. So,
absolutely, 100%.
So there is still stuff to work with him. His hands are still a little bit high. He plays a little bit high. You'd like to see those hands adjust a little bit better, but it will come with time. And overall, there is good improvement in pass protection. Another area I thought he was really good in was run blocking. And so I thought we'll start with this one here. He gets a nice 2-for-1 here. I think it's a counter scheme coming to the left side of the line. So Coleman's job is to help Nick Allegretti secure this defensive tackle with a down block, and then he's going to peel off and work up to the linebacker. And he does a really nice job here. You can see he works shoulder to shoulder with Allegretti. The defensive tackle is trying to drop to a knee, but Coleman kind of shoves him inside and gives Allegretti that position to pin him inside, which is exactly what you want. You can see in an ideal world, this is where that lane's going to emerge, where you're going to have this block on the edge, you're going to have this wall inside, and you're going to hit this right in between those blockers. It doesn't quite work out that way out here, but Coleman does a nice job. So he helps Allegretti get his position on this defensive tackle, and then he peels off for this linebacker trying to scrape back outside. Unfortunately, I think this is John Bates. Instead of going to get the corner or the safety, he comes inside to get the linebacker. In the future, I mean, maybe that's something where he's thinking, I need to help my left tackle, my rookie left tackle. I don't know if he's going to make that play. In the future, you hope that he goes and makes a block out here. This gets broken down inside here. But the important part is that Coleman comes off here and then goes and has a little bit of extracurriculars with the defender and shoves him outside. And you like to see that playing through the whistle. So again, nice job shoving the defender inside from the end zone angle, peels off, gets to the linebacker, gets him hooked, and then runs him out towards the sideline and plays through the whistle. So you like to see that. One thing I thought was nice to see was you could see him learning within the game. So this one is actually a bad block. Not necessarily a bad block, it's just one he doesn't quite reach. So Washington's running a little trap scheme here where these two linemen are going to fake blocking this defensive tackle. They're going to work up to different defenders, and Allegretti's going to pull and trap him. And Coleman's job is to just work up to the second level and seal off this linebacker on the backside of this run so that they can hit this front side. Now, you'll see the scheme works quite nicely. They bait this defender into thinking there's a run out here and getting blocked by someone else, and suddenly Allegretti's going to pin him, and suddenly you've got this nice lane here. But you can see here, Coleman's struggling to reach that block. And that means that linebacker is able to get in that hole. Now, they don't quite get the block out here either. So it's not just Brandon Coleman's fault, but the linebacker does make the tackle eventually. They get some nice push at the end of it. But yeah, you can see from this angle, you see Coleman just needs to go and try to reach this linebacker and cut him off by any means necessary. If he can't cut him off, wash him down the line and really shove him down the line. He goes to try to shove him, but he doesn't get anywhere near enough on him. And you can see as Eckler, I think this is hitting the hole, the linebacker's right there to make the play. Now, see, I think this is Sam Cosmi or Andrew Wiley. One of them does a nice job of, helping fight for extra yards here and pushing Eckler close to the end zone. But Coleman still needs to do better. But later in the game, they came back to the same scheme. So this is the same trap scheme. They're going to fake blocking this defensive tackle, and Allegretti's going to pull and block for him. So Brandon Coleman's job is, again, go up, reach this linebacker. Ideally, you see them off on the backside. If you can't see them off, wash him down the line. Just shove him down the line and allow Eckler, or I think this might be McNichols at this time, to cut his run back inside of him. So we'll see here Coleman, when the ball snapped, he climbs up and he quickly realizes this linebacker has realized the play from earlier, so he's hitting this a lot quicker. So instead of trying to get in front and seal him, Coleman just accepts, okay, he's getting to the spot quicker than I am. He's a linebacker, so I'm going to convert to, instead of trying to cut him off, I'm just going to wash him down the line. And you see he gets a nice strong shove and runs him down the line, and clears him out of this hole. Now, unfortunately, Dexter Lawrence is Dexter Lawrence, and it's very hard to block one-on-one for Tyler Biadasz, and they're able to make a stop there. But you'll see it from the back line that there was, again, Coleman gets down that line, clears out that lane. Now, if this isn't Dexter Lawrence, if this is an average defensive tackle and Tyler Biadasz is able to cut him off, you can see where that lane is going to hit. Right where Coleman is right now, because he's washing this guy down that line and he's shoving him down that line, and he finishes the block nicely. So that's a nice adjustment, in-game adjustment, learning from an earlier mistake. And I thought it was a good to see. And Dan Quinn talked after the game about how Coleman rarely makes the same mistake twice, and I think that was an example of him learning from his earlier mistake. And then, so I just thought it was a nice example of that. I think this might be the last run play I have on Coleman, but it's just showing the power that he has. Now, the thing that surprised me this year with him is how powerful he has been in the run game, because in college, they basically always passed the ball. It was a lot of bubble screens, tunnel screens, and normal drop back passing and stuff. So they very rarely ran the ball, so you didn't get to see him be active in the run game like this. But I think this was the 4th and 1 play, where Austin Eckler picks it up, and it's a little bit dubious whether Austin Eckler actually did get to the first down marker, but I'll let others be the judge of that. The focus here, Brandon Coleman, he's got a defensive tackle over his inside shoulder. He is, again, we talked about washing down the line. He's going to wash this guy down the line and create that lane. So we see ball snapped. He shoves that defender, gets a nice strong shove. So remember, that defender started out here. He is now inside the hash marks, and Coleman's going to seal him off. So that is a terrific job by an offensive line on 4th and 1 to create this kind of seal inside. Now, unfortunately, they don't get a seal on the other side to create the lane, and the linebacker goes and makes a tackle on Eckler. But for Coleman's part in it, he just does a terrific job. And I won't pause this one. You can just watch how he just washes this guy down the line. Remember, he starts out here, so he's a yard outside the hash marks. He ends up a yard or two inside the hash marks. Wash him down the line and hold him there. It's excellent. And this was the last one. So it is, again, another example of him trying to climb up to reach the backside linebacker, and just showing his strength in the run game. It's a slightly different scheme that they're running, so it's not the trap scheme. They're actually pulling all 3 of their interior linemen, which is a bit risky, but I like it. The linebacker tries to hit it really quickly, and Coleman just gives him a nice strong shove down the line, and again washes him out of the play. And let's just give one more look at that when Chris Rodriguez goes to make this cut. You can see
the end of the game too. That was the 4th quarter.
Yeah, 4th quarter, and he picks up 17 yards on this because Coleman washes that guy down the line. That Jaden Daniels holds Brian Burns on the potential threat of a read option. Just look at this lane for Chris Rodriguez to cut that back into. And you can see why they were able to get 17 yards and nearly a touchdown. So that was Brandon Coleman. I think he's done a really nice job of, in his first full start. He had some rough reps, and you can see that there is still plenty of stuff to work on for him, but you can also see the potentials there. And he didn't look out of his depth completely, which I would think most 3rd-round rookie left tackles trying to face Brian Burns in their first full start would probably look out of their depth for the most part, and he didn't. And they did a nice job helping him and not exposing him, but when they needed him to, he mostly stood up, and he helped in the run game too. So I think it's a really encouraging sign.
Mark, do you have any reservations of Brandon Coleman being the left tackle next year?
I'm not yet convinced that he is their long-term left tackle. Okay. I'm starting to be convinced that he can develop into a starting tackle, whether that's on the left side or whether that's long-term, maybe shifting to the right side. I think the ability he shows in the run game potentially suits him a little bit more on the right side. But right tackle is becoming just as important at left tackle nowadays, because you get a lot of good rushers off the right side. They're facing one this week, TJ Watt, that is one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he exclusively rushes off of that side. So you need to be able to protect that side as well. But I just feel I'm not fully convinced, and I'm not saying that he can't be their left tackle of the future. I just think there's a lot of developments. There's still some development that he needs to do to assure everyone that he can be that of the future. But I think he is proving that he's developing enough to say he's going to be a piece for us going forward. Just not necessarily at left tackle, but there's still obviously plenty of time for him to lock that down and be that guy. And if he can be that, that would be, what a draft Adam Peters would have if he's hit on quarterback and left tackle.
Absolutely.
So I thought we would transition at the end of this just to have a quick look at Marshall and Lattimore. I managed to watch 3 games of him since the trade and put together a couple clips here. So obviously the number one thing that this team wants to do is to be able to play man coverage on the outside. And it sets up the rest of what the defense wants to do. They want to be able to, the Commanders are talking about here, want to be able to bring a safety down in the box, load the box against the run, be very aggressive with blitzing guys. We've seen Wagner and Luvu blitz a lot from the linebacker position. Joe Witt Jr. talked about wanting to blitz Jeremy Chin from safety a lot more. They've just not been able to because they've had to play a lot more too high coverages because they've not trusted their corners on the outside. And so because of their lack of trust on the corners outside, the rest of the defense is taking a hit. They're not able to blitz as much as they want to. They're not able to stop the run as well as they should because they're always playing with a light box rather than having a safety down in here. So having a Marshall and Lattimore that they can play man coverage, and as we're about to see, should enable them to be a little bit more aggressive. So this rep here, this is Darnell Mooney on the outside here. He's the Falcons' speedster. They always look to hit him deep, and they're running him on a little fade here. They line him up inside the numbers to give him a little bit more space to run this fade. But Lattimore shows great technique here. So he doesn't go and try to jam him immediately. He shows good patient feet, waits for Mooney to declare where he wants to go. Once Mooney's kind of obviously made his declaration that he's releasing outside and trying to get down the field, then he opens his hips, stays on top of it, extends his hand out late to get on top of Mooney, and you can see he's clearly got a yard on top of him, and by using his hand he's able to try to force Mooney further outside than he wants to. Mooney would ideally like to stay close to the numbers and give the quarterback room outside the numbers to throw, but Lattimore is able to kind of force him further and further outside, and you can see by just getting that hand on that shoulder there, he has set the path for Mooney to go further and further outside. Rather than keeping that inside, he's forced him further outside, and he's fading away from the quarterback, and that window just never emerges. And you can see Lattimore stays on top of it the entire time, and once Mooney starts looking back for the ball, Lattimore knows, hey, I'm on top of this route, I've got it under control, I can keep a hand on him, and I can turn back and look for the ball in case that ball is coming. So you can see he's on top of the route, he's got control of it, and that's when he starts to look back for the ball. Now Kirk Cousins is looking the other side of the field, throws the ball the other side of the field because this is completely dead. So it just shows it's really good coverage, takes him all the way to the sideline, and that's exactly what you want. Like, as a receiver, you want to be as close to, they have what they call a red line, which is halfway between these, and you want them to be on that red line, so that you give the quarterback room to throw outside, to fade it towards the sideline to get it away from the coverage. As you can see down here, Lattimore's already got Mooney out towards the sideline, so that's about as good as you can play that type of route against that type of receiver. Again here, up in press coverage, this time Mooney's isolated one-on-one on the backside, and he's going to run a basic cross. They've got a bunch set over here, and typically what you have with these kind of formations is you have kind of some sort of zone beater, and then you've got the basic cross on the backside trying to beat the man coverage. So as we run this through, you see Mooney tries to make a little stutter, and that's the kind of move that Forbes or St. Just would probably overreact to. And you can see that Lattimore is really patient with his feet. He's not reacting to the stutter and trying to jam him and worrying about what does that stutter mean? Is he going to try to stutter back in or break back out? He just stays patient. He stays calm with his feet. He makes Mooney declare exactly where he wants to go. And then Mooney eventually shows that he wants to get back inside. And that's when Lattimore is able to adjust his hips, adjust his feet, stay on top of the route, and make contact, and basically shut down his chances of A, getting vertical or breaking back outside, but B, staying with him as the receiver tries to break inside. And Lattimore's right there. Now, Cousins is throwing this ball over to this side of the field, again, because Lattimore's got really tight coverage. That's never going to be open, but Lattimore's right there throughout it. So I'll just wind this back again, and I won't pause it this time after the snap. So just again, focus on Mooney tries to make a little stutter step outside before releasing inside. Just watch Lattimore's patient feet. He doesn't overreact. He just stays patient and then sticks with it once Mooney's declared, and sticks tight, and it's good coverage. So that's him playing up in press. This is another man coverage rep against Mike Evans. It's 3rd and 9 here, so you can see the first down marker I've put in yellow here. And Evans is going to run this deep curl. So he gets beyond the 50-yard line here. So this is like 15, 16, maybe 18 yards as a deep curl. So that can be a deceptive one to cover, because when you get to sort of 15-ish yards, you're starting to think, okay, this guy is just running a go route. I'll just stay deep and on top of it. And this is something we've seen St. Juiced, especially this week against the Giants, be kind of vulnerable to. He sees these deep curls and comebacks, and when they get to a certain depth, he's like, okay, this is just a go route. I'll just stay deep on top of it. And then they suddenly break off, and he gives up a pass underneath, and they pick up 18 yards. Lattimore doesn't do that. So Lattimore does backpedal. He stays on top of Mike Evans. Evans starts to fade it outside to kind of sell that he is going deep on this and make it look like it's a go route. And so Lattimore starts to run with him. But then he feels Evans start to throttle down and break off the route. So he's able to adjust and slow himself down. He gets his hand on Evans to kind of get control of the route. And then he breaks right with him. And he's right there with Mike Evans. And that's just not there. You could never make that throw. You couldn't anticipate that that's going to be open and deliver that ball, because Lattimore is right there the entire time. Now Baker Mayfield goes off script and runs around and makes a play over there, but we're not too worried about that. It was a really nice rep by Lattimore, and it just shows again that he has good patience and understands that not every route is just going to be a go route. He's able to adjust when they break things off and stay tight to the receivers.
By all accounts, I'm hearing what I've been learning from Marshawn Lattimore is that the quarterbacks don't even test him. They don't even throw the ball at him. And I guess it's sticky coverage, and within the first 5 or 10 yards, he's covering the wide receivers so much that the quarterbacks go away. But he is providing some ample coverage on that side. Whether it's great technique, whether it's trust in his speed, it seems like he's on top of the wide receivers for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that stood out in the 3 games I've watched so far. They hardly threw at him. One of the times they did, he did break it up. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, they did hardly throw the ball his way. And like there were, I think he has built up a reputation enough now where quarterbacks know kind of pre-snap, okay, that's that matchup I don't really want to go to. And a lot of teams are now, because the Saints played him on this side most of the time. So a lot of teams would put their better receivers on the other side and try to hide those guys away from him, so that they could still feature their better receivers elsewhere. But he would always take away pretty much whoever was out here. But what stood out to me as well was, while you like the ability to play press man coverage, this regime likes corners to play off, but aggressive off coverage. Because when you play off, you can play with vision, and when you have vision, you can attack the ball. And we hear constantly Joe Witt Jr. talk about the ball is life and wanting to create turnovers and interceptions. This is the type of thing this is the type of profile that they want in the corner. They don't always want you to play press and jamming guys at the line. They like, and this was a thing you saw in Dallas all the time with Doron Brand and Trayvon Diggs. You see those guys playing more off and being super aggressive on anything underneath. And this one, you see Lattimore has a really, really quick trigger on this. This is just a slant. The ball doesn't get thrown, but it's just to show how quick his trigger is. So you see the snap of the ball. He just opens his hips, takes one step back, and immediately is reading, okay, this is a slant. I can drive on this. I can take this away. And you can see how quick he's out of that. And now Jalen Hurts is going over here. He knows he doesn't want to mess with any of this over here, but you can see Lattimore is instantly out of that break and ready to break on that and meet the receiver at the catch point and potentially contest the catch or intercept it. So it shows from off we can play off with vision and drive on those things underneath with it, which is exactly what Bland and Diggs did in Dallas with Quinn and Witt, because they were so aggressive. Because they played so good in man coverage, they were able to blitz more guys, force the ball out quickly, and that allowed the corners to play off and attack those underneath routes because the ball was having to come out. So that's the recipe that they want to create, and they've not been able to do that because they've not been able to trust the corners. But this is something that Lattimore does really well. So this is an example against the Falcons. You got Kyle Pitts out here, who's a tight end, but more of a receiver, big body, again running a slant. Lattimore's outside. And I'm just going to let this one run that slant, and he's right there, quickly triggering on it, breaking on the ball. We'll run that one back just to show it once more time. Again, gets to pivot open, gets his eyes in the backfield as well as on Pitts breaking inside. As soon as he feels Pitts starting to break inside, you can see I'm ready to break on this now. Cousins is looking right at it, so that tells him to attack it even more. Cousins tries to make an adjustment and throw this towards Pitts' back shoulder because he can see Lattimore over the top of the route, but Lattimore is able to get his hands in at the catch point, knock it down. Nice pass breakup. So that's exactly what they're kind of looking for, is those guys that can play off with vision and attack underneath routes. And I think Lattimore has more to give in that respect. And this play, this play is me speculating a little bit of how he's playing this. You've got Chris Godwin here running a little spot route underneath, and I'll just run this through to the next diagram I've got. So Godwin is stepping up here and ready to just spot up. Now, Lattimore we saw has a really quick trigger, so he could be ready to just jump that route straight away. He can see Godwin is breaking this off, and he could ready to jump that straight away. But when he's playing this far off, he doesn't just have vision of the receiver, he has vision of the quarterback. And he can see that Baker Mayfield is not looking towards this route. So there's no need for him to immediately charge down. So there's two positives of that. One, if this is a double move, Lattimore stays on top of it, because he can see the quarterback is not even looking his way. So he's not going to bite up on any that. He knows that ball's not coming, so there's no point in biting up on that. And Godwin then suddenly taking off down the field behind him. So that's one good aspect of that. But two, if this choice route over here is not open and Baker Mayfield has to adjust to come back to this, he's going to have to turn and hurry a throw because he feels the pressure coming. He knows that he can't really wait too long after a choice route to get rid of the ball. And he knows this is the priority after that. So if Baker Mayfield passes this up and adjusts, if he just sees a flash of his receiver with a little bit of separation, he's going to rush to throw that ball. And as we've seen, Lattimore has a really quick trigger, so he could potentially bait Baker Mayfield into making that throw only to break on it and potentially intercept the pass. Now that doesn't happen here because Baker Mayfield hits the choice route. But you can see he's in position. When he sees Baker Mayfield ready to deliver a ball, he's ready to drive on the route. And we saw the quick trigger and close. He'd be able to get to this and contest any pass here. So now he's got this underneath guy. That ball's never coming to him, but and the ball is always going out here. But it just shows an example of why he's there's more to come from him in this kind of system that Washington's going to use. When he plays off with vision, he's able to read not just the receiver but through to the quarterback, and he can see that the quarterback was never looking this way, so there was no need for him to hurry down to that. He can protect himself against any potential double move and bait the quarterback into making that throw to potentially make a play on the ball later on.
He comes off as fundamentally sound, Mark. Like from all of our video clips so far, we have him covering Darnell Mooney, Mike Evans. We have him covering Kyle Pitts. Chris Godwin's also a burner as well. Diverse wide receivers that are going against him. We've seen him play press coverage. We've seen him play off coverage. We've seen him read the quarterback, which is all sound NFL pro skills. But coming from Ohio State, a pedigree program, 4-time All-Star Pro Bowler, we see him like he does have a diverse skill set that he can bring over to DC. In theory, Joe Witt, Dan Quinn are the CB whisperers. I've been hearing that all offseason. Hopefully they can still get some things out of him.
Yeah, and I think the system, I think the ability to play press and man coverage, like we showed at the start, is the bread and butter. So when you want to be aggressive on first down and load the box with the safety and blitz a ton, you need to be able to hold up in man coverage outside, which he can do. He's proven that over his NFL career at this point, that he can hold up outside one-on-one. But the next level of that defense is when you're blitzing so much and you're committing so much to the rush, you're forcing that ball out quickly. And when you're forcing that ball out quickly, that creates opportunities for corners to break on the ball and create turnovers. And that was why Dallas was so effective under Quinn and Witt, was because those corners were breaking on those quick routes. Offenses were terrified of Michael Parsons and that rush all getting to him. They were throwing hot routes to the flat and getting jumped constantly. It felt like Deron Bland had like 4 of the same interceptions last year, because of the pressure that they brought up front and the corner being able to play off with vision. So I think what I tried to show with those last few clips is he can play off with vision. He does have not just good vision and understanding of the route in front of him, but also being able to see through the receiver to the quarterback and see when he's delivering the ball, if he's lined up to deliver the throw, or if he's actually holding off and trying to hit a double move, and that's when he can protect himself against those double moves that we've seen St. Juste and Forbes get beat on constantly. So I think there is potential for him to be a really, really good fit for what they want to do. He hasn't got an interception this year, so I can't say like how good his hands are to intercept the passes, but they've also just not really been throwing the ball his way. I think it seems to be someone that on paper should fit quite well with what they want to do, and his skill set should adapt pretty well to the new scheme and hopefully fit in really quickly.
Absolutely. And the one thing to give credit for with Adam Peters, right? I think the free agent class we had, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, Dante Fowler, all those additions that he identified and brought over to our team has contributed this year. So there's confidence for the team to be successful. So credit to him on that. Mark, fantastic breakdown. Sorry for giving you some extra work to do the last minute to get Marshawn Lattimore in. People are definitely going to appreciate it. I'm going to cut it up and put it on Twitter in about a couple minutes, so thank you for that. There will be no more trades next week, but we do have a Steelers game what we're going to break down for Week 10. Thanks, Mark. I definitely give him a follow, Mark Bullock NFL on Twitter. I'm Carmi 21. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. See you guys.